Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and I am recording this in now dark, very beautiful Escazú, Costa Rica, where it is Monday, December 1st in the year 2025. And welcome to a new month and the last month of the year. I want to remind you that tomorrow evening I am giving a lecture on 2026. It is the astrology of 2026. It's called Astrology 2026, The Rebellion of Fire and Air. And it's only $55. And the link to get it is on my website at Astrologer's Thoughts. And you go there in the last blog posting that I have there. It has the link in it. Or you can email me, deb@debmcbride.com, info@thegoldenastrologer.com, and that will get my attention, and I will send you the link to pay. And then when I create the Zoom link, I will send it to you. I haven't sent it out yet. It's going to be really interesting. It is 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. my time, Central Time. And it's going to be all about next year and the real interesting unprecedented dynamics that we have going on next year and how we are going to proceed through this, how we're going to work with this energy, where it lands in your astrological chart. We're going to talk about that. And the ending of major cycles, and these unprecedented energies that no one alive today has experienced. Okay? So I really recommend your coming. And if you can't make it, it's going to be recorded. You go, just pay for it, and I will send you I'll send you the Zoom link, of course, but I'll send you the recording afterwards. And it would be really great if you can do that, because then you'll have it for life and you can watch it again and again, especially next year when a lot of these things are going to be coming up. And it's going to be a really important year. This year was the one I called the liminal labyrinth. And that's because we were in the liminal space, the in-between space, between the changes, the initiation of the changes, and then the finality of what was going out. And then next year is what's coming in. And I can tell you that next year is going to be different than this year. And if you haven't prepared your life for big changes, well, then you're going to want to listen to this recording or come to the lecture and ask questions. Live is good because you can ask questions. And so very important to sign up, join me, and we're going to talk all about next year tomorrow night. Okay? Tomorrow night, December 2nd. So get in now. Okay. Wow, it has been a lot. You know, whenever two planets go direct at the same time, there's a lot to be said for the energies that are shifting and moving forward when there's a double retrograde station direct. And one is sort of an outer planet, really, and the other is an inner planet. And the first one was Saturn, and it went direct Thursday night, and Mercury went direct Saturday morning. So it's been a lot. A lot has happened in my life for sure. I was away over the weekend. I left Friday morning and then just came back this afternoon. So I postponed the podcast. And if you knew that, you were paying attention to my Instagram. And I also mentioned that I didn't know when I was going to do it last weekend. And so it was better for me to postpone it because I was away in a beach town with not great internet, and too much was happening, and I said, this is not the time to do this. Plus, I didn't bring my book with me, and I figured I would do it when I get back. But anyway, Saturn went direct Thursday night, and for me, I had a very pleasant Thanksgiving. It was a very fruitful time. It was a wonderful experience. We had a lovely time. Which I had a party here for 20 people or so. And, it's always a lot of work. It's always, some stress. But there was that Saturnine burden that was hanging in the air. And there was the feeling of, why do I do this? What is the point of this? What's the point? That Saturnine drudgery, burdensome, why am I doing this? But the evidence is, unmistakable. Everyone is so happy to come and join. And even though we're doing it in the evening, and usually Thanksgiving is an all-day thing, everybody's working here because it's not a holiday. But everyone so enjoys it and loves coming and is really happy when they're here for Thanksgiving. And so I'm just thrilled that it went so well. However, I thought, okay, I'm going away tomorrow. I got to finish packing up, and the house. We were out on the patio, and therefore all the stuff from the patio, except for the table and everything, had to come in. My hammock and gardening supplies and stuff. And I was just going to go to bed and deal with all of that as I could, whether in Friday morning or whatever, but I had to get packed. But my cat decided to vanish, and she was here all day, all evening, all fine, sitting on the patio with me and my friend Veronica as we were talking after everyone left. And then she just disappeared, and I was not happy. I wanted to go to bed, and I had to spend a half an hour looking around the garden for her with the flashlight, looking in the main garden for her, calling her. And finally she appeared, and I was like, where on earth were you? And she's like, da-da-da-da-da, meow. And that was stressful enough. Okay, so now I'm going to really get into bed. And as I'm changing clothes to get ready for bed in my pajamas, the hinge of my closet door came off. And the closet door is hanging, and I'm trying to not let it fall on me. And so this was a whole other thing that I had to deal with. And I'm like, I just want to go to bed. And it was so Saturnine, like responsibility is not stopping right now. And so I had to prop it up. I had a friend next door come in and help me and try to screw the screws back in the hinge, but they were too old. And I just said, forget it. I am just going to prop a chair up against this and deal with it when I get back from Guanacaste, which is where I've been. And then there was a lot of traffic and everything. But a lot happened when I was in Guanacaste, and there were some heavy things that happened, which I'm not going to get into. But anybody who is feeling a lot of changes or things erupting, this is due to 2 planets stationing direct. And then there was the Venus opposite Uranus. And so this is really intense. And there was a lot of powerful energy moving. And there were things, now that Saturn is direct in Pisces, it's leaving Pisces, not to come back for like 28 years, okay? And it's headed towards Aries. So it's going towards Aries now, and that's what Neptune is going to be doing in a number of days, a week and a half or so, going direct and going towards Aries. Yes, this is good, but it had a lot of lingering energies that were foreboding about, Saturn going into Aries. And so I really felt like we're headed in a new direction now. Like there's new things. And one person mentioned over the weekend, we've turned a corner. We're at a turning point. And he wasn't talking about the astrology. He was talking about a life situation. And it was a turning point, and I agree with that. So this was a big deal. So Saturn is always, Saturn's pretty big. Saturn's a big deal when it turns direct. Sometimes it's not so, not so responsible or lesson oriented. It's like, oh yes, Saturn went direct. There's usually some bump, but when it goes direct, and another planet like Mercury goes direct at the same time, and I call that the same time. It was less than 48 hours of each other. This makes a statement, and a statement should have been made in your life during that time. So, Mercury went direct on Saturday. I was in the pool. We were all glad Mercury was going direct. I was in the pool alone, and where we were staying was really beautiful. And I went into the house, my villa that I was in. It was more like a little apartment. And I went into the apartment, and it got dried off, but I'm still dripping from the pool because I went to the bathroom, and I'm standing there, and I said, you know what, let me grab the bath mat and scoot it over. And when I did that, I got a surprise, because under the bath mat, as Mercury went direct in Scorpio, what did I find? A scorpion. And for the first time ever, in all the years I've been here, nearly 9 years that I've been living here, I found a scorpion. And I've had other scorpions that aren't of the stinging type. They're tailless whip scorpions, and they show up every now and again around the garden or once in a while in my house. But this was the traditional scorpion. Lucky for me, I caught it because they like to hide under dark things, because Scorpio is like that dark energy, sometimes. And it's so here we are. Mercury goes direct in Scorpio, Saturn goes direct, and here's a scorpion. And of course, I killed it. Now, I don't take power animals lightly. I get the message. I say, message received, but I was not going to allow this thing to wander around. Oh, it's a power animal. And then leave it there, because God only knows what was going to happen. And I've heard of people with scorpions in their bed and getting stung and everything else. So no, it has to go. And it didn't have a shell. It didn't have that hard shell yet. So it must have been a young baby scorpion. And it was, I don't know, maybe 3 inches long. So chiquititos, as we say here. So it was dead. My New York City cockroach killing skills came in handy because I whacked it. First, I whacked it with my flip flop that I had on and that didn't do it. That didn't do it justice. So I took my shoe and I slammed it a few times, and then I got rid of it. So yeah, a scorpion. Imagine that. So that Mercury station was powerful. And then my friends who were staying in a nearby villa, down like a kilometer away, I told them the story and everything, and they found a scorpion when they were packing, and they were shaking out the kids' clothes and stuff to pack, and they found a scorpion, but this one had the full shell on it, and they killed it as well. So, and hiding again under fabric. That's what scorpions do. They hide under fabrics and under things. So you always got to shake out your towels and you're at the beach and everything, because you might get a scorpion. So scorpions are about resilience. Scorpio is about resilience, and the resilience, the information about resilience and strength and hanging in there and having faith about where the direction you're in, and knowing that you're going to be able to handle things. And I took it personally because Pluto's on my sun. It was really going to be on my sun early next year, and Pluto rules Scorpio, so I found that profound. But yes, that was my Mercury retrograde surprise. Venus Uranus surprise. A scorpion. There were other surprises, but I'm not going to get into it. So meanwhile, the week ahead is a lot lighter. There's not so much of this intense shifting, changing energy. There's a full moon on Thursday the 4th in Gemini. It's at 13 degrees of Gemini. And this is important because this is the final full moon of the year, and it's the final supermoon of the year at 13 degrees of Gemini. The next full moon will be in January, and we have a new moon later on in December. So very powerful, 13 degrees of Gemini. This also affects 28 degrees of the cardinal signs. So if you've got anything at 28 Cancer, 28 Capricorn, 28 Libra, or 28 Aries, you are going to feel this full moon. And Jupiter is at 24 Cancer, so it's not quite close, but it may have a Jupiterian quality to it, and that would actually be very nice. Other things that are interesting that day is that the moon, as it's approaching the sun, now that full moon will be 6:14 p.m. Eastern Time, 5:14 my time, and the whole moon opposite sun will occur numerous hours after the moon opposes Venus. So what's going to happen is the moon goes into Gemini on Wednesday, and then it's going to trine Pluto right away in Aquarius, which is very good. And then it's going to oppose Venus at 4:49 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's very lovely. Venus is in Sagittarius, where she's flirty and spicy and fun. And then the moon will oppose the sun, bringing our full moon together. So Venus is not conjunct the sun, and actually they're not going to conjunct in Sagittarius. They won't conjunct until they get into Capricorn next year. But really, Venus and the sun are close enough for the moon to say, hey, Venus, and then hey to the sun. So there is a Venusian quality to this full moon. And so that is very nice. And so the goddesses are in opposition, but that's okay. I don't always think that that's a bad thing unless like there are other factors involved. But it's going to make a trine to Pluto. The moon will trine Pluto, and that's very good informationally, especially because we're all in air signs. So this is very good. And then it's going to oppose Venus, and maybe there's some conversation that the goddesses are having about feminine energy, the polarities of Venus, and then of course the Sun being a stronger masculine polarity. So it's interesting. It's an interesting full moon. The moon in Gemini is smart, witty, sharp, funny, maybe a little distracted, but lots of things, got its hands or Gemini in lots of things. And so it's important to notice any information that you receive that day, anything that could be potentially sending you in a different direction, because the moon in Gemini is, giving us lots of opportunities and options. It always does, because it's got lots of irons in the fire, moon in Gemini. And so conversations, information, all of this is really important. Now, Venus is finished at this point she's finished with Scorpio, and she's now in Sagittarius, where she went yesterday afternoon. So Venus entered Sag yesterday at 3:14 p.m. Eastern time. So, now she's frolicking with the planets that are in mutable signs, because she's in a mutable sign, and she's no longer in the fixed place of Scorpio, where she was opposing Uranus. And there's that Scorpio energy, where we had a lot of Scorpio energy on Saturday as Mercury went direct, and then Venus was opposing Uranus. So it was really powerful, a lot of powerful scorpionic energy. And so we're moving, and Venus is going to be, we're no longer going to have all this Scorpio energy. We're going to have all this Sagittarius energy. And by the time we have the full moon, there'll be 3 planets in Sagittarius. So the moon will make that trine to Pluto in Aquarius. Then it'll oppose Venus. Then it'll oppose the Sun. And then the next day, it's going to oppose Mars. So it's Venus, Sun, Mars in Sagittarius, which is a lot of good, positive, uplifting, fiery, optimistic energy. And so I like that the moon is doing this. I like that the moon is going to be in this, brainy, witty, effete sign, and then making all these contacts to the planets in Sagittarius. It could just have been a full moon opposite the Sun in Sag, and then everything else was someplace else. But it's making a relationship to planets that are, the personal, emotional, relationship-oriented planets, the planets that represent the masculine, feminine polarities. And Venus and Mars do discuss our relationships. They're social planets. Venus is very social, and I think this could be a very social time for people to connect with friends, and maybe the Christmas parties are starting, maybe the holiday celebrations are starting, maybe you are doing your shopping. So this is that kind of energy, and Sagittarius is very optimistic, uplifting, generous, fun, and perhaps a bit overindulgence, but that Jupiter, that rules Sagittarius, is in the sign of Cancer. And while it's not, really involved in this full moon so much, like I said, it's at 24 degrees. It's going to be in this relationship grand trine with Mercury and Saturn and Neptune. So there's still this water grand trine with Jupiter and those 2 planets, Saturn and Neptune, and then Mercury, because it's in late Scorpio. So this grand water trine is actually very supportive in this moment, and very fortunate for us in this moment, as Jupiter's planets that are in, it rules Sag, so those planets are belonging to Jupiter. They're disposed of by Jupiter, the three planets, the Sun, Venus, and Mars. And so there is a Jupiterian feel to this full moon because the Sun is in Sag, and we've got a whole lot of planets in Sag, and then all this fire and all this Jupiter energy. Yeah. And it's interesting that Mercury has just gone direct and we're having the full moon in Mercury's sign of Gemini. So it's a lot of Gemini, Sag, Jupiter, Mercury energy, lots of thinking, lots of thought, lots of communication, lots of networking. So the networking may continue right into holiday season here as people are still calling each other and trying to make last minute deals and connect and have some sort of relationship, maybe work wise or with ideas and optimism and stuff as the year ends. We are in the station of Neptune. Neptune is starting to stop, and Neptune is going to go direct, not this week, but next week, the 10th of December, Wednesday. And that's also the day of the last Mercury-Uranus opposition. Now remember, there were three. The first one was Uranus was in Gemini, Mercury's sign, and Mercury was in Sag. And then Mercury went retrograde, and Uranus went retrograde, and everybody moved backwards. And then Uranus and Mercury met again recently, and then they're going to meet again next week. They're going to be in opposition again. So always this story with Mercury and Uranus is still hanging in the air and happening. So this is important as well. What have you been told? What have you been ironing out? What information are you getting? And also, where has the truth come out recently in these last days as Mercury went direct, 22 Scorpio? And so this is all very, very important. This is very important as we move into these last weeks of the year and we are taking note of what has surfaced for us as Saturn has moved forward and Mercury has moved forward. Mercury always brings the truth to light. When it goes retrograde and then when it's turning direct, we get information that we may not have had before. And Mercury in that little bit wide, but it was 21 actually when it went direct to Jupiter is, maybe your life was saved. Maybe some information came forward in the nick of time. Maybe the alignment of events was particularly important as Mercury went direct the other day, right after Saturn. And so Saturn also trining Jupiter. So Saturn and Mercury were talking to each other in a trine, and then Jupiter was involved. So somehow, some way, something came in and said, I'm saving the day here. We are moving into something where you needed to be aware of some information, and I'm giving it to you, but we're softening the blow a little bit, okay? So there have been turning points. There have been turning a corner in these days, and it's very important to pay attention. Where have you had some information appear to you? I've had all sorts of information appear to me, but personally I had some things that came to light for me. And what are you experiencing? What is coming to light for you as Saturn moves forward at the end of the zodiac? As Mercury moves forward in Scorpio and as they are talking to the fortunate, abundant, expansive planet Jupiter in this grand trine. This is good time to make connections now that Mercury's direct. Go out and connect. Talk to people, promote your things, put up your events. I'm having my event tomorrow night. Come join me. And that's me. Yes, I'm having my event tomorrow night. Come join me. So, and bring forward your projects and speak up and talk to people, right? It's important, because we had a little thing over the weekend where someone wanted to speak up and say something and they didn't want to overstep the line, right? And it was interesting because Saturn's boundaries and Mercury is speaking up. And so we were past Saturn's station, but we were in Mercury's stationing, it was going to go direct like maybe 14 hours later. And it was, interesting because my friend said to me, I feel like I should have spoken up, but I didn't want to overstep. But now I know I'd rather speak up than be sorry later. And so we hesitate to speak up when Mercury's stopping in the sky. We don't say our real feelings. We don't say something until maybe it goes forward, and then we need to say our piece, right? And the truth comes out. So pay attention to the truth coming out. Pay attention to what truths you learned, what information has been given to you, and what you're going to do with it now, and what Saturn is showing you, and how Mercury is telling you, okay, this is the plan we have to make. Other things happening this week. Tomorrow, Venus in Sagittarius makes a very nice relationship to Pluto in Aquarius. Venus and Pluto are in sextile, and so that's a nice, smooth relationship. I like that Venus is involved talking to things, to other planets, and that she's showing up and she's present. The goddess is with us. She's giving us her opinion. She's giving us her views. Venus and Pluto can be a triangle, but this is a soft aspect. This is not a hard aspect. This isn't like, I just found out my partner's cheating on me. This is, or I like this person and they like somebody else, or they like me and I'm involved with somebody. It's not that kind of triangulation with Venus Pluto this time. It's more softer, and Venus and Pluto are meeting and being creative and interesting, and maybe you'll hear from someone that's a friend that wants to see you, and you get together. Again, more social things. Venus is very social. Venus and Pluto could be a little spark, maybe there's a little flirtatious spark going on. And Venus is a little more adventurous when she's in Sagittarius, and she'll take the risk that maybe she wouldn't normally take, especially when she was in Scorpio. So, if you want to ask someone out, or you'd like to let someone know you like them, this could be a good week for that, with Venus and Pluto, and doing a nice little dance together, a happy dance together. Then there's Mars, which is in Sag, and going to talk to Chiron in a very supportive way in a trine, because Chiron is in Aries, and that'll be 5:03 p.m. on Friday the 5th. And we have some other good news that Mercury is trining Jupiter. And remember that Mercury and Jupiter talk to each other during this whole retrograde process, back and forth. Once on the way out, once again on the way back in, and now back going out. Mercury and Jupiter are talking to one another on Saturday the 6th. So, and we already know that there is a grand trine with Saturn and Neptune and Mercury and Jupiter. And so Mercury is going to start making those movements again with those planets and the water signs. And so Mercury and Jupiter talking to one another is also great for networking, great for opening the door to conversations, great for having conversations that might have been a little sticky or not available to you, and the moment is coming where you can have the conversation. So I think that's good. So it's important to pay attention. Who do you need to talk to this week? Where have you been holding back saying things and talking, or speaking up, or making offers, or connecting and connections? Where have you been doing that, where you haven't been moving forward in, communicating with people? And now is a great time to do that, because Mercury is really chatting with the other planets, and that's very, very positive, especially the trine to Jupiter. We love this. This is great news. And then Mercury is going to start doing that relationship thing to all, Saturn and Neptune as we get into next week. And then first we're having the opposition to Uranus and all, but this is for next week's podcast, as we talk about Neptune going direct and then, heading its way into Aries. So it's a milder, lighter week. It's a little lighter. The Gemini moon will make things a little lighter. It's an informational week. It's a positive week. It's an optimistic week. We've got to go forward with an optimistic view and a clear, optimistic focus. Okay, so that's where we're going. And in the meantime, if you'd like to join me tomorrow night, I would greatly love to see you. It's 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Central Time, my time, and it's $55. You can purchase the event on my website. Go to thegoldenastrologer.com, go to Astrologer's Thoughts, and on that page you'll find the link. And you can write to me if it's easier. You can connect with me on Instagram, DM me at the Golden Astrologer on Instagram. You can DM me by email, deb@debmcbride.com, info@thegoldenastrologer.com, and let me know you want to join me tomorrow night. So if you'd like a session with me, you can certainly have that by going to thegoldenastrologer.com and booking it by clicking book online. You can book an astrology session. We can talk all about next year for you personally in the details. We can do Reiki and clear out this last year, which was the in-between space, and bring you into the new year. We can do gift certificates if you're thinking of celebrating with astrology for your loved ones. Give them a gift certificate to my services. They can get a card reading. They can get an astrology session, a Reiki session. And for yourself, if you'd like to go into the new year with expansion mentoring, please join me. 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. Thank you so much for listening. Gratitude to each and every one of you. Join me tomorrow night and let's go forward in this new year together. Blessings, gratitude. I will see you on the internet.